Turn me on. Turn me up, turn it loud, invite in the outside, and let's sit and talk while there's still time. And no, this isn't fear-mongering, war-drumming, Johnny-get-your-gunning, apocalypse nowing. This is honesty. And honestly, if you're gonna grab anything, grab a chair and sit with me. Let's talk. Let's talk about life, this life right here, not the one that they taught you to plan for or revere. Don't waste one breath on the breadth of the lies shoved through our minds till intelligence chokes, and gasping for air, you mumble a prayer because you feel it's your only way out. It's not. Turn you on. Turn you up. Turn it loud. I want to know you and I want to know me. I want to see where those lines blur in a brilliant sweep of humanity. I want to compare stardust. I want to look up to the sky and see. I want to fight. I want to love. No god or goddess above to watch over me. There's plenty of prying eyes closer to sea level. And that's what I mean. Reality is so twisted but beautiful, fucked up and emotional, corrupted and saved, wild and tame. Let's really look at it. Let's listen to the world through these ways and means, not through the powers that be. If there ever was a conspiracy to believe, I swear it's that those robber barons up high are alien spies. But supposing we're all the same species and we're all we have, what else is there than to make this momentary flicker a bit brighter by fighting for all that we have? What else is there? And that's not a thought dark and dismal. How fantastically awesome that of all the space and time that exists, these molecules combine to create this here and now, this you and I, this moment in time where we have the power, we have the choice to raise up our voice. A chorus, a symphony rich with the melody of we the people. Seeing the ills, stopping and saying, hell no. Seeing the beauty and stopping to hone in on that moment without clicking on your fucking phone. When I say there's not much time, I mean that in this infinite time, we don't have much time. We don't have much time to live, we so quickly die, and did you have a chance to feel alive? Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Now imagine to be so cliche as to take in a fucking sunset, but really take it in so your bones are aglow with the fire from millions of miles away. Like so the fire in your mind when your soul, bare to reality, feels the sting of another human broken, of the evil not made in the depths of the earth but the depths of our kind. Naked you stand to these truths, but before you cloak yourself in fairy tales or apathy, try on humanity. The reason for your existence is accident, but the meaning is infinite. From nothing, we can do something. Open your eyes. Let's do something. From tweets to marching in the streets, this is Act Out. Welcome to Act Out. I'm Eleanor Goldfield, and this is your tipping point. And this is underneath a bridge with the DC Metro. Welcome to the urban street art lifestyle. So now that we've established that we don't have a lot of time on this pale blue dot, let's talk about life, about humanity. What makes someone a person? What makes someone a human with inalienable rights? One of my absolute favorite things to do is to philosophize about the intricacies of mind, body, soul, the battle of matter and what matters in this existentialist, metaphysical mess. But for right now, let's talk less abstractly and more tangibly. You can touch a person, see a person in front of you. A person bleeds, laughs, cries, gets old, and eventually dies. It doesn't seem very difficult for humans or even other animals to pick out humans. And those humans are the ones we talk about when we say human rights or personhood rights or civil rights, so on and so forth. We don't really consider our couch as being persecuted because it doesn't get to vote, or even our cat as oppressed because it doesn't have the freedom to organize a protest. Although, that would be the most adorable protest ever. Fight the power, little man. And while animal rights are indelible to a progressive and humane society, they are different from human rights. But even this guy is not entitled to animal rights. Why? Because he's not fucking real. Now, we can get philosophical about what reality means, but regardless of where you are on the philosophical spectrum, I'm pretty sure you can agree with me in saying that that dude is just a cartoon. A marketing ploy like the Kool-Aid Man or this guy, who is seriously fucking terrifying. And sugar-coated rice? Fucking hell. Anyway, while we understand that neither of these things nor the corporations who spawned them are human, our government says that they are. and that because of that, they are entitled to personhood rights, including but not limited to free speech, the petitioning of government for redress of grievances, and protection from search and seizure. Which is insane. Like, padded room fucking insane. Because corporations aren't people. And for fuck's sake, you shouldn't need a cat to point that out to you. But again, that would be fucking cute. So why is this distinction so important? Because the Constitution is there to protect our rights, to make sure that we have equal rights as human beings. And if we can't live up to that shit when it comes to actual human beings, minorities and women, cough, cough, then this fucker should sure as shit not be in the running for constitutional rights. Giving a corporation human rights is like giving a T-Rex wings, releasing it into a bird cage and calling that equal. Bullshit. Paying for candidate is free speech? Well, I wonder who can speak louder then, me or Exxon? Routine inspections considered search and seizure? Well, I wonder why shit like this keeps happening. Or this. Or this. When was the last time that you poisoned thousands of people because the authorities didn't search your home? Right? It just sounds fucking stupid, because it is. So, I could go on with this, and I will, but for now, as a special event this week, we go to an exclusive interview with David Cobb and George Friday of Move to Amend. They were in town last week to announce the introduction of the We the People Amendment, and we got a chance to sit down with them and talk about this ludicrous concept of corporate personhood, the proposed amendment, how this issue is everyone's issue, and how you can get involved, from tweets to marching in the streets. Take a look.
People who are elected to office, the day they get into office, they start raising money for the next election. So they don't have any time to govern. They don't have any time to do what's necessary to make sure we are living in democracy, that we the people are ruling, because they're too busy trying to keep happy all of the people who gave them money the last time, who they want money from the next time. So, and I think people aren't aware of that. They are aware that elected officials are, you said the word, corrupted. But they don't understand what the root of that is and what the effect is in their lives. So the 28th Amendment can be that wake-up call for people as a start. And then by backing the 28th Amendment, we can help people to start taking that role of building power to have genuine democracy in this country. For some of us, it never existed, so now it's time.
I am 100% confident that the 28th Amendment is going to be passed. It's not going to be passed in this Congress, right? So the existing Congress are not going to actually pass this amendment. But the people who are going to pass this amendment, either out of Congress or through a state constitutional convention, they are already born, right? Yeah. Think about it.
That feels good.
This movement, we are, I think, 15, 20 years from the actual ratification of that amendment. Some people get freaked out. Oh, we don't have enough time. You know what? We have enough time to do it.
It's a movement.
It's a movement. Law follows culture. We need to build a mass movement in this country that is broad, deep, conscious, politically educated, very clear about our demands for a peaceful, just, democratic, and ecologically sustainable society. And once we begin to get comfortable with the idea that it's the rest of our lives, it's the work of building a multiracial, multi-ethnic, intergenerational movement. And by the way, we're going to have fun doing it.
There you go.
Right?
Might as well. It's the rest of your life.
It's the rest of your life, right? So the thing is, at Move to Amend, we are very serious about building a movement to amend the Constitution, and we know that that means actually doing the work of building relationships to build power to sustain ourselves in the long haul.
How do you get from here to there?
You start by connecting the dots of issues that people are experiencing in their communities. If someone who's working on the school-to-prison pipeline gets together with someone who's dealing with pollution in their community, they'll find that in both cases, corporations are benefiting from the plaguing of those communities. So how do we halt that? How do we build enough power to say, no, you don't dump in our neighborhoods, you don't dump on our people, you don't dump our kids in prison? And one way of doing that is coming together. And in that coming together, you're coming together across lines of class, across lines of race, across lines of religious differences and age differences and educational background differences, and figuring out how do we come together, stay together, and build power even when and as we have an escalating I don't want to use the word force, that's too much, but an escalating surge against us. Well, take the streets, hold the streets, claim the streets. They're our streets. We built them. So.
And, I appreciate that, George. And to me, I think it's really worth pointing out. See, corporations are not just exercising power today. They are literally ruling us. As surely as masters once ruled slaves, as surely as kings once ruled subjects, unelected and unaccountable corporate CEOs are ruling in this country. And what's really worth pointing out is that Move to Amend began with 12 people in a living room in 2010. Today, we're 386,000 people and growing every day. We've helped 600 communities pass resolutions of support of our proposed We the People amendment. 16 states have now called for a constitutional amendment. Eleanor, we've been on the ballot over 300 times across this country. Guess how many times we've won? 300. We haven't lost yet.
Nope.
And yes, we win in San Francisco and Boston and Madison. The liberal bastions. You know what? We also win in Salt Lake City, Utah. We won in Waukesha, Wisconsin, which is the hometown of Republican Tea Party Governor Scott Walker, where they haven't voted for a Democrat for president or Congress in 40 years. Move to Amend is on the ballot there. We won. We won in the state of Montana. Yeah, that Montana. The state of Montana, in a statewide initiative, we won by 75% of the vote. Everywhere we go, we win. This is one of the few campaigns I've ever worked on where I have very easy time getting together liberals, conservatives, moderates, Democrats, Republicans, Greens, Libertarians, Independents, because we may have disagreement on policy issues, and in fact, we do have disagreements on policy issues. But when it comes to the principle of whether this is supposed to be a democratic republic where we the people are supposed to govern ourselves in this country, there is actually broad support in this country. Move to Amend is on the move, and it's because we are engaging ordinary people, as George said, on issues that affect their lives day to day and saying, y'all want to build with us? Y'all want to take some power? So do we. Let's talk.
What are some other paths that you're utilizing or that you're looking into besides the purely legislative path?
Move to Amend agrees absolutely. We need a political process that is engaging at the local level and the state level and the federal and congressional level all at the same time. But it doesn't stop there. Move to Amend is actually engaged in an outreach and engagement process where we're partnering with the Hip Hop Congress to do an educational forum called What the Bleep Happened to Hip Hop? Short answer, the corporate commodification of what began as a liberatory art form is what happened to hip hop music. And imagine whenever you get older white liberal folks together with younger black and brown and Asian folks who were actually having these kinds of political conversations together. Answer, something magic is what happens. But it doesn't end there. We have an interfaith caucus where people who are doing this work because of their faith convictions, and I'm talking about Christians and Muslims and Jews and Buddhists, you name it. If you are doing this work because of it, you're called to it spiritually, then we invite you into what we call the Interfaith Caucus. We have a labor caucus where organized labor are coming together to help push the We the People amendment. And one of the most exciting things, we have a newly developed art and culture working group where artists are actually being engaged with Move to Amend, because I think, frankly, and this is not my line, but the real role of the artist is to make revolution irresistible. We got to make it not just inevitable, we got to make it sexy and fun, right? You feel that?
One of my favorite shirts to wear on stage was a shirt that said "Politics are sexy."
There you go.
I hear you.
You got that.
Wow.
And so now that is one level. We have Resist to Amend, an effort to engage people in a process to say, what does dignified, nonviolent civil disobedience look like as a tactic in this movement? We have Pledge to Amend, where we're going to candidates for office at the local, state, and federal level, challenging them. Will you pledge to support the We the People amendment to abolish corporate constitutional rights and money as speech? We have the Vote to Amend, where we're going to voters to say, stop giving your votes to these a-holes who are continuing to resist the people's will. So all I'm getting at is you go to that website, movetoamend.org, it's like drinking out of a fire hydrant, right? I mean,
There are
there's
a
so
lot of options.
much
Yeah.
stuff, but think of it as a menu.
Particularly in my age group, 18 to 30, there is this huge concept of Well, apathy is sexier than politics. And, who gives a fuck? Because they don't care about us anyway. And like you said, like, when you finally get to people, everyone has an opinion. Everyone
Right.
wants to tell you what they think is fucked up and what they think is messed up, but they don't vote. They're not politically engaged, they're not politically active. And because Move to Amend is going for this on so many different fronts, legislative, grassroots, what would you say to someone, who's 25 or my age and just says, well, what the fuck does it matter? They're not going to listen anyway.
What are you willing to do? So it starts with, what's your vision of the kind of world you want? And really hearing what that looks like. And then say, okay, what are you willing to do to make that happen? Is it 50 hours a week? Is it 1 hour a month? And then we do have all these ways that you can use that time to build towards that vision. Is it worth it to you to put in 5 hours a week, 1 hour a month to get there? And if you say yes, then we roll. If you say no, it's like, yeah, I hate it for you. I'll light a candle and God bless you. Because when you go to sleep, it's not like the, I heard you say today on a call that it's not like the people who are ruling us are going to sit back and say, oh, Move to Amend has got 2 million people now. We gonna back off.
Yeah, we give.
Yeah, we're done now. No, they're going to escalate and escalate. They're escalating now. We have militarized local police forces with like tanks and stuff. What's up with that? So if we don't pay attention, folks in your 18 to 30 age group will just like back off and say, F it. I'm just going to have an organic garden in the backyard and homeschool my kids and we're going to be cool. Keep our head down. When you put your head up, when your kids are in high school, it'll be like, oh yeah, you go through school, you get searched, you get checked, you got a camera here, a camera there. That's not the world most of us want. And if you want a world that looks anything like your idea of a good world, you better do something.
And you know what? People 18 to 30 need Move to Amend to succeed. They need the experience, the strategic thinking. We need each other. And that's the sweet spot of solidarity, Eleanor, when you're doing something not just because it makes you feel better or feel good, but because you see that your victory, frankly, your liberation is wrapped up in everybody's liberation. That's whenever you're actually talking about something. Because I'll tell you this, my lived experience has been that most people are not apathetic because apathy means you don't care. People care. People are cynical today, especially young people. Cynicism has been cultivated. Cynicism is more cool. You know what? That's what the ruling elite want you to do, man. Like you are being played like a
drinking
fool.
The Kool-Aid,
You're
baby.
drinking the Kool-Aid. You are a straight up sucker if you're just playing that kind of cynicism game. So what I'm saying is, at Move to Amend, we take a lesson from the civil rights movement. Get in where you fit in.
That's right.
Right? And so if it's art and culture, we got something for you over here. If you're a person of faith and that's how you do your work, we got it over here. Organized labor, gotcha. Environmentalist, You're working on immigration issues? Well, let's talk about the corporatization of these detention centers and why immigration policy is actually corporate policy.
Right.
And the school to prison pipeline that George mentioned, like in passing a couple of times, let's take a moment to really anchor the fact that people are making money off of warehousing people as a commodity, and it's not even labor, it's literally locking up their bodies, and they make more money by criminalizing these people. Oh, and isn't it interesting? It's young black and brown people who are being targeted by it. So I tell young people, really, you need to get involved with us. We need to listen to you. Move to Amend stands ready to do that. It doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter where you're coming from. If you're stepping into this movement, if you want to be part of a peaceful, just, democratic, and ecologically sustainable society, we've got work to do. Move to Amend wants to work with you.
And like they said, check out movetoamend.org to get involved in a number of ways. You can also view the full interview on our YouTube channel. Now, despite the fact that we hosted a special event this week with the interview, we still got some shit to cover. And I want to take one of the points made in our exclusive interview and make a hard, literal connection to what's happening in Baltimore and indeed the nation on this week's Frontline segment. Last Wednesday, protesters in D.C., New York City, Boston, Texas, and elsewhere took to the streets in a show of solidarity with the Baltimore uprising. And I say solidarity with Baltimore, but in fact, it's solidarity with each other. At the tip of this iceberg, we have the Freddie Gray case, the Tamir Rice case, the Mike Brown case. But if we look at this tiered tower of racism and inequality, we see that it isn't just a case of some racist cops. Those cops are representative of a system that brutalizes, robs, beats, dumbs down, holds back, and pushes around we the people. And the darker your skin, the deeper the shit you're in. Public welfare sits behind corporate welfare. Way the fuck behind. Even the fact that as we speak, corporations are rolling dice with our rights, our lives, in this ultra-secretive trade deal, the TPP, that shit is just an escalation of a nation bought and sold. As E.G. Dionne Jr. wrote in the Washington Post, at a moment when the debate over the president's push for the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal is one of Washington's central battles, Baltimore is Exhibit A for why there is such frustration over how the costs of globalization and technological change have been borne almost entirely by the least advantaged people in our society. The darker your skin, the deeper the shit you're in. About a third of Baltimore residents used to be employed by the manufacturing industry. Now less than 7% have manufacturing jobs. This is not a problem of globalization. This is a problem of robbery. When the technological and economic gains go to the top 1% of the top 1% instead of the people, you get Baltimore, and you get a police force militarized to protect the interests of the few as they usurp the rights of many. Stir that shit up, pepper in some racism, and then tell me you're surprised when people fight back. Tell me it makes sense to call these people thugs and the people who stole their homes upstanding businessmen. Tell me it makes sense to find this funny but this child abuse. Tell me we're living in a country of, for, and by the people. Tell me that we're not focusing too much on a looted store when we should be focusing on a looted community, a looted country. Baltimore is not about a single issue. That single issue may have broken the oppressed's back, but that shit has been stacked high for years. And if you follow the stench, you'll come back to a judge's bench, politicians for sale, and oh, all hail the corporatocracy. Put down the Kool-Aid. Don't let them make you believe that a broken window is more important than a broken spine. And this isn't a call to riot. Not rioting. This is a call to fight the reason that people riot. Raise your voice, raise your fist. We can fix this. Stand your ground? Fuck yes, we will. As George said, these are our streets. We built them, and it's about fucking time that we take them back. And the announcement by the Maryland Attorney General to rule Freddie Gray's death a homicide and to press charges against the officers responsible is good news, but not good enough to stop fighting. We have a long way to go before cases like Freddie's find justice, and more importantly, before cases like Freddie's never even happen. To find out more about events near you, check out wetheprotesters.org and fergusonresponse.tumblr.com. These upcoming slides will be some images from protests on the ground, plus some hashtags to tweet and people to follow online. That about does it for this week's episode. Besides buying your mom flowers this weekend, be sure to check out the Million Moms March here in D.C. on May 9th. Check out the sites I mentioned for Black Lives Matter events near you, and on May 10th, head to a bank to sing happy birthday to the world's oldest human. More info on that creative celebration here. And that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for watching. As per usual, check out the last slide to see all the sites that I mentioned in this week's show, and there will also be a link to help support Occupy.com. We are a donation-run organization, so anything you can contribute is hugely appreciated. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube. From this beautifully decorated and fucking loud Devil's Den, good night and act out.